I honestly believe you can't compare the Z Fold 7 to the competitors out there. In this video, we're going to talk about the rumors on the Z Fold 7, but more importantly, the rumors on what's up and coming in just the next couple months. Let's get to it. So along with the Z Fold 7, we're going to look at the Vivo X Fold 5. We're going to look at the Honor Magic V5 that's coming up, and then we'll compare all those to the Oppo Find N5 that is already out. And you want to stick around to the end for my shocking predictions on what's to come. Now, as we all know, the Oppo Find N5 came out just a few months ago, and it's been the leading phone since, according to most reviewers. From what I could see, it's mostly because of the size. This thing has an 8.12-inch internal screen. That's huge compared to everything else. The next closest would be your 8-inch screens that are out there. Although the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro is really close, being just over the 8 inches. And I also think it's because of out of the gate, it came with 512 gigabytes of storage and 16 gigs of RAM. And most of all, because it was the first foldable to really present a version of the Snapdragon 8 Gen Elite. And what I mean by a version, it only has 7 cores instead of the full 8 cores of the 8 Elite. And it's believed to keep it from getting overheated and to be able to actually achieve the thinness that it has, because the Oppo Find N5 is the thinnest phone on the market right now at 4.2 millimeters thick. Now, there's some others that are close, such as the Honor Magic V3, which happens to be 4.35 millimeters thin when open, which we've seen it so many times how thin that is, especially when you compare it to phones like the Z Fold 6, which is quite a bit thicker. And let's turn that around to the screen edge. So you see it's quite a bit thicker. And then I think lastly, a reason why the Oppo Find N5 is so popular is because of the external screen being a 6.6-inch in diameter external screen. This is only a 6.4, and this right here being a 6.3, you can imagine that 6.6-inch screen has a lot more real estate. Now, that could be good or bad, whether you have large or small hands. I have smaller hands, so the 6.4-inch fits me very well. Hey, I want to take a quick second and tell you I appreciate you for hanging out here with me as we talk about the Z Fold 7 and other foldables and what we can expect here in the near future. If you get anything good out of this video, show me your appreciation by smashing that like button. It really does help out the channel and helps me to create more content for you. Let's get back to the video. So the popularity of the Oppo Find N5 has really curved the market, I believe, because now everybody is trying to match it and go a little bigger and actually go a little thinner. And this is what it's going to look like here in the next couple months of what you can choose from. Now, starting with the Z Fold 7, this thing's going to come in with a 6.5-inch external screen and an 8-inch internal screen, making it quite a bit larger than its predecessor, the Z Fold 6. And then the claim now, it gets smaller and smaller, is that the Z Fold 7 is going to be 3.9 millimeters thick when it's open, which is crazy thin. I don't know how they're going to fit that USB-C port in the bottom of that phone being that thin. Now, right now, folded, the Oppo is only 8.93 millimeters thin, and the Z Fold 7 is supposed to be 8.9 millimeters thin. And I don't know if that's including the camera bump or not, but that's actually still thinner than the Oppo Find N5. And the Z Fold 7 is supposed to come in with the new 8 Elite processor with all 8 cores. So you would think with that, it might run a little hotter, but apparently they've increased the cooling chamber because they did not increase the battery. Let's jump on a battery. Battery on the Oppo Find N is a 5600 milliamp hour battery, and it's going to continue or remain a 4400 milliamp battery in the Z Fold 7. That's quite small. We'll have to see if the chip makes it run more efficient to give us enough battery life out of that to run as long as these other devices. Now, the one thing about the Oppo Find N that you hear a lot about, or don't hear a lot about, actually, is the camera and the functioning. You hear that they're okay, they're good, but they're not exceptional. They're not really flagship, simply because they want smaller sensors to fit that narrow or thin framework of the phone. So there were some compromises there. Where the Z Fold, supposedly they're going to give us a 200 megapixel main shooter, but the other cameras and the sensors actually are shrinking, especially if they're going to go down to that 8 megapixel ultra wide camera, just like the Oppo Find N. Now, those aren't their only 2 cameras competing for the best foldable here. We've got two others that are going to come out. Let's talk about those now. The Vivo X Fold 5 is going to come out with a 6.53 external screen and an 8.03 internal screen, so just a little over 8 inches. Not much change there. However, its battery is going to go up to 6,000 milliamp hours. It's going to come out with 16 gigabytes of RAM and starting at 512 gigabytes of storage space. And it's going to continue to come out with the 350 megapixel cameras being the main shooter, the 3x zoom, and a 50 megapixel ultra wide. Now what's changing this year is they're dropping down to 4.3 millimeters thick. That's huge, but it doesn't put them in the running of the thinnest phone. And hopefully these other manufacturers are getting smart and not worrying about being the thinnest, but instead are considering having the better features. Now the one downfall about the Vivo X5 Fold or X Fold 5 is that it's still rumored to come out with the 8 Gen 3 Snapdragon chip. So they're the one foldable that's not putting in the new 8 Gen Elite chip. Not quite sure why. Maybe they are trying to keep the cost down. Who knows? But I'm here to tell you that the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip in my Honor Magic V3 and other phones keep up no problem with the 8 Elite chip that I have in the Samsung S25 Ultra. Yes, there may be a little bit better benchmarks and it may have an advantage when video editing. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of difference. Unless you're a big-time game player, which I'm not, so I would need others to make that judgment call. Now, there's one more to talk about, and that's the Honor Magic V5, and maybe I saved the best for last. Who knows? You have to make that judgment call, but the Honor Magic V3 is going to move up to a full 8 inches. Right now, it's at 7.92, so going up to 8 inches on the internal screens, not a whole lot of difference. The external screen is going to be about the same, still a 6.45 inch diagonal screen, which is barely any difference. And then it's going to come out with the Snapdragon 8 Elite full 8-core chip. Now that's the rumor, is that they are not cutting the cores on the Honor Magic V3, and it's going to remain real close to the same thickness, which is 4.3 when open and 9 millimeters with close. I think they're shaving off a tenth or two on each dimension, but it's pretty much going to be the same. Now the really big change is going to come to the cameras. On the Honor Magic V5, they're going to come out with a 200 megapixel, very similar to that of the Z Fold 7. The difference is the Z Fold 7 is going to be the main shooter. So on the Honor Magic V3, the 200 megapixel is going to be a 3x telephoto lens. So it's going to have zoom capabilities on its 200 megapixel camera. That's going to be a game changer compared to all the others. And they're continuing on with their 50 megapixel main sensor, which is larger than that of what you find in the Oppo Find N and that of what will come out in the Z Fold 7. And it's going to have a 40 megapixel ultra wide lens, which will just blow away the 8 megapixel on the other two. And then the battery is going to change on the Honor Magic from a 5150 milliamp hour up to a 6000 milliamp hour battery. That's a huge jump. And the biggest difference between these newer foldables and the Z Fold 7 is going to be the charging. The Z Fold 7 is still going to have its 25 watt wired charging and 15 watt wireless charging. Pretty pitiful. However, because it's a 4400 milliamp hour battery, it's smaller. Maybe they just don't need the fast charging. Or better put, maybe Samsung thinks that we don't need the fast charging, because on all the others across the board, they're going to be 80 watt wired charging and 50 watt wireless charging. I think with the exception of the Vivo, which is going to be 30 watt wireless. So there you have it. There's a lineup, and I will put the chart that you see in the video down in the description below. Now again, full disclosure, all these things are leaks and rumors. However, the closer we get, the more real these become. So as I said at the beginning, I don't think the Z Fold 7 can compare to all these other foldables simply because of the battery size, the charging, and I believe the other compromises that they're going to come out with to get that thin phone. Now, a lot of you out there are going to say, well, but Samsung has the best software out there, and I would agree for the most part. They really do. They've got it fine-tuned. They've been putting these things out longer than everybody else, and I think that's been their major focus is software. So yes, the software is really good. So if that's your main focus, then yes, the Z Fold 7 will be the phone for you. I'm definitely going to have to get one and try it out so I can do a review. Samsung just may surprise us yet, and we'll know for sure in the next month. So now for my shocking prediction. I believe that the Z Fold 7 is going to have the best selling year for the foldable device or the Z Fold device yet, simply because they are going with the larger external screen like everybody wants, larger internal screen, fully fledged Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, meaning 8 cores, and with the announcement of a 200 megapixel camera, that's going to capture the attention of a lot of people. But most of all, why it's going to do so well and it's going to do better than all the other foldables out there is because it's going to be a global version, a true global version where it can be accessible just about anywhere. And simply because of that, people are going to tout how this is the best foldable out there, which may be in contrast to what this reviewer believes, but I truly think that the Z Fold 7 is going to dominate. So now it's time for hear from you. I want to know, what do you think? Is the Z Fold 7 going to be the best foldable out there? Is it going to beat everybody out, not just in thinness, but in everything else? Or where do you think they're going to lack? And has one of the others caught your eye? Let me know. Let's chat about it. Now, the thing about the Z Fold 7, it's supposed to come out with the new One UI 8 on it, when the Z Fold 6 just received the One UI 7. And if you want to know more about One UI 7, check out this video here. Until next time, God bless.